I'm Junior Kekoeva Jr. Good morning and aloha from Hawaii. We're on 6 platforms this morning. We're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitch, we're on Trovo in Europe, and 2 Facebook accounts that we have here. So we're going to start with manifestation and the process so that you understand that this is subconscious mind activity and not witchcraft or magic in the magic sense. Although you could do magic in the magic sense because the kingdom is in here. Good morning, Jay. The kingdom is in here, okay? So whatever you call this, you want to call this a spirit. Some people call it a soul. Some people have a different understanding of what soul is. But then you could call it energy as well. But that's what we're talking about. Now, how is this going to create magic? How is this going to create a better life for you? Well, it's your thinking. Okay, now thoughts produce actions, but there is an activity that happens between the subconscious and superconscious, or what we call consciousness. Okay, now consciousness, right, is the collective. Consciousness is everybody's in here, okay, as one big network, okay? So let's describe it first as a computer in computer terms so people are more familiar. Okay, so your processing center, your frontal lobe of your brain where you process thousands of thoughts a day, okay? So that's your operating system. Your subconscious is like your hard drive. That's where the programs are installed, okay? Now, the superconscious, okay, there's only the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. The superconscious is your network, and that's the network that we're all plugged into, okay, because of the energy in here. So when you read in holy books that we are all one, okay, it's not just talking about the species, it's talking about we are all one in here, okay, but we are all individual ones connected to the one, and that's why you have the law of one. The law of one says that everything is connected. Now, it's not just human beings, animals, okay, plants. Did you know that plants communicate? Did you know you can talk to your plants and get better plants, healthier plants? Did you know that vibration affects everything? Trees communicate, but they communicate through their roots. They don't communicate like we do, but they communicate. Everything in the universe is intelligent. So, good morning, Deborah. Good morning, John. Good morning, you guys. Good morning, Anna. Everything is intelligent in the universe. Okay, there are species of plants that are edible that turn inedible when their species shrinks, so that they can flourish again and grow plentiful, and then they turn edible again. So there's more to the universe, to the world than meets the eye, and everything is intelligent. Now, if everything is intelligent, when we're talking about the superconscious or God or source, if you want to say, however you want to label that, when we're talking about that, why do people die? Why do we have accidents? Why do we have these experiences? Well, it's not about the individual, it's about the collective, okay? It's about the information that you upload into consciousness, and it's the information that gets downloaded from consciousness, okay? And this is why you have, many people talk about near-death experiences. People talk about, coming back from after being dead, that kind of thing, and they've had experiences and they talk about it, okay? But it's more about our experiences being uploaded into consciousness. So if you want to look at it in another way, okay, that superconscious wants us to have experiences because those experiences get uploaded back into the superconscious. Everything we see, everything we touch, it doesn't just stop here, okay? So this is part of it. This is part of it. Now, the downloads come in intuitive thought. So someone else can have an experience and it can be uploaded into the superconscious and then downloaded into you because you ask. Ask and ye shall receive. Okay, now, when you ask, your subconscious is automatically obligated to answer you. All you have to do is ask and you'll receive. Now, how do you get this? Have you ever channeled? Okay, channeling. Okay, what is channeling? How do you do it? You have channeled before. Okay, here I'll give you an example. Okay, so you're explaining to someone how to do something, and you automatically start saying these things that you didn't even know you knew, and you go, "Wow, I hope I remember this because I didn't even know I knew this." Okay, now there's memory and there's intuition, and they're different. Okay, memory is in your subconscious. Intuition is from the superconscious. So memory, right? Everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever done, everything you've ever experienced, everything you've ever been exposed to, everything you've ever read, everything you've ever learned or witnessed goes into your subconscious. Now, certain things at certain periods of time will trigger this. Okay, something will trigger a memory, and you go, "Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, now I remember something about that now." And then what do you have to do? You have to think about it. Okay, and when you think about it for, let's say, a period of time, could be a few minutes, could be a few hours. You could ponder it for a day. What happens? You begin to get answers. You begin to get answers about it, and then you go, "Yeah, that's right." And because you start remembering more and more. Now that's memory. Intuition is a little bit different. Okay, intuition is like when you're driving down the street. I always use this. Okay, so if you've heard me do this before, be patient. Okay, so intuition is when you're driving down the street and you have that feeling that you should turn here. And you go, "No, that's okay," because you have free will. You can make your own decisions. You have free will. And you go, "No, that's okay. I'm gonna go straight." And then you get stuck in the traffic jam, and what do? You say, "I knew I should have turned there. I knew I should," right? Because you did know. Now that's not memory, that's intuition. People don't trust their intuition. Why? Because we've been educated. Okay? We've been educated. Okay? We've been taught to think a certain way. We've been taught to perceive things a certain way. We've also been taught that intuition is nonsense. We've also been taught that imagination is nonsense. And that's when you get into intermediate school, you go, "Well, yeah, it's not, imagination is not cool anymore," right? But when you're fourth grade, third grade, second grade, right? You're all in here with your imagination. Okay, and life is easy. Life is wonderful. Things come to you easily. Okay, why do things come to you easily when you're a child? Because you haven't grown up yet. You haven't been conditioned yet against it. When I was a kid, people used to tell me, "Wow, you're getting carried away with your imagination again." You know, did it stop me? No. Did it inhibit my ability to do it? No. Because I had an uncle that told me, "No, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing." And then when I got older and I got to be an adult, it's like, "Oh, Einstein said that education takes you from A to Z, but imagination takes you everywhere." And I learned things like that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Jeez, thank God. Praise God." Praise God I didn't follow that, right? So what do you need to do? You need to listen to this. You need to listen in here. You need to seek in here. But because we have eyes, we seek out there. Because we have eyes, we look over here, we look over here, we seek over here, we seek over there. Okay? I'm here to tell you you'll find more answers if you seek in here. Close your eyes, okay? And seek and ask. Because if you ask, you will receive. If you seek, you will find. If you knock on the door, it will open. It will open. So many of our children now are all on their devices. They're on these devices now, and they think that this is the reality. No, the reality is in here. The reality is in here. You can make things happen from here. You can make things happen here. You can make a living doing this. I make a living doing this. You know, this phone was paid off, I think the week after I bought it. So, I mean, you know, but my businesses are here, my companies are here. My livelihood is here, in that world. But in this world, in the physical world, I make it happen from here. I make it happen from here. The temple is here, the kingdom is within. So how's your kingdom? That's the question you should be asking. How's my kingdom? Can it be better? Can I change it? Okay, we always talk about the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence says that whatever is happening in here is going to be reflected out here in your life. If your life is full of chaos, there's chaos in here. Okay, if you want to solve the chaos out here, you have to solve the chaos in here first. Okay, yesterday we were talking about doing things first, taking action on things first if you want something. Yesterday we were talking about if you want love, love first. If you want money, give money first. Okay, and we also were talking about giving time. Time is what you have that is the most valuable. Okay, because when you give your time, you're giving of your life. You're making a sacrifice when you give time. When you just throw money at a charity or you just give somebody money, you know, it's almost like you don't want to deal with the problem, so it's easier to do that. Rather than sit down and spend some time to work out someone's problems or to listen to someone's feelings. Hey, Steph, good morning. Hi, Deb. Good morning, Deb. So this is you know, these are very important components because these things will enrich your life. This will make your life richer. I'm not talking about money richer, okay? I'm talking about rich as in full, rich as in abundant. Now, abundance, just to be clear, okay? Abundance is not just money. Money is part of it because we need money. We need money to pay the rent, to survive, to pay bills, to do things like that. But there's two ways towards abundance. There's two ways. The first way is that, you know, you go to a job and work yourself to death, right? You work, maybe 2-3 jobs, okay? But you're working here in the external, in the physical world. You're working in the physical world. If you're not working in the mental world, okay, if you're not working in the spiritual world, if you're not doing your homework here and your focus is in this physical world, you are bound to the physical matrix. And when you are bound to the physical matrix, you are subject to the physical matrix. What am I talking about? Uncle, what you talking about? So there are rules, there are laws, there are spiritual laws, and there are physical, material laws that belong to the world. Okay, so Christians always say, right? Christians say you can be in the world and not of the world. Okay, yesterday after my live, one of my Christian brethren said, "Oh, you're wearing the Star of David," and he said, "I didn't know you were Jewish. Are you Jewish?" And I said, "No, I'm not Jewish." He goes, "But you're wearing the Star of David. That's the Star of Remphan. That's a satanic thing." And I'm like, well, if that's what you think. See, there's this misconception, okay? There's this misconception that Remphan, or the Star of Remphan, right, is the Star of David and the Star of Saturn and all that, right? No, actually, that part is confused. Let me explain. So Remphan was involved in star worship, okay? Not this star, stars up in the sky, okay? And in the Bible, people confused that with the Star of David being evil, okay? But that's not why I wear the Star of David. If you go back to maybe 1000 BC, okay, 1000 BC, Okay. Now this is Indian, and this is the Shatkona, and that's why I wear it. Okay. Now it is a protection amulet. It's for protection against evil. It's also it's also found in Buddhist temples. It's also found in Indian temples. It's on the floor of the temples. Okay, just like people talk about swastikas, right? Oh, that's evil. That's Hitler. Oh, that's evil. Uh, well, not exactly. The Buddhists have been using that for centuries, but they use it backwards. Okay, they just inverted it in the 40s. Okay, Israel was formed in the 40s. Now, when you go back to the ancient Israelites, yeah, it goes back to them, but it goes farther back to India. So anyway, I thought I'd clear that up for you a little bit. Go do some research, you'll find it. Okay, so it's more about Shiva and Shakti than anything else, and go do your research on that. It's a thing. So now, when we're talking about energy, everything is energy. Okay, everything is energy. Are there evil spirits? Yeah, there's evil spirits. You know, the most evil spirits I've ever seen resided in the bodies of humans. The most evil spirits. Okay, because we are all born or came into the world from love. Most of us, the majority of us. Okay, but some of us were not nurtured. Some of us were not loved. Some of us were not cared for. What does that do to love energy? It diminishes it, and sometimes it takes it away. People that do not love, there is either love or the absence of it. There's only one energy. There's only one energy. In the absence of love, yes, you still have energy, but there's one original energy. That's it. When you're operating in the absence of it, it's that 50% line again, okay? So this is love, this is absence of love, okay? And some people are like this, majority of love. Some people are like this, little bit love, okay? Some people are like this, balanced, okay? But there's one energy, and then there's a percentage. How much love do you have? Well, I only have this much love. I only have this much love. Okay. But we all come into the world with love. And then life happens. And then things happen. Now, if you direct your energy towards evil things, if you direct your energy towards evil, or let's say it another way, the absence of love or things that involve no love, you will become that. You have that potential. You also have the potential to love. You also have the potential to become love. The highest frequency is love. The lowest frequency, what is the lowest frequency? Do you remember? Okay, we talked about this before. The lowest frequency is fear. It's not hate. Hate and anger is down there, but fear is at the very bottom. Think about it. It's fear. When you are in any negative vibration, you are experiencing some form of fear. When you are in any positive vibration, you are experiencing love. Some form of love. Contentment, there's some love there. Happiness, there's some love there. Joy, there's more love there. If you're ecstatic, there's a lot of love there. Okay? So there are degrees, right? And if you take a look at the way we love, sometimes we're feeling it, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're feeling it, sometimes we're not. If you're deliberately avoiding it, deliberately, nah, I don't want to do that. You're like that, right? You're focusing on anger. It's because your subconscious has learned that. And your subconscious keeps repeating it. It's a program, and it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. People that get angry all the time, what happens? They get in the habit of being angry. They get in the habit of losing their temper. They get in the habit of responding to triggers negatively like that. So it becomes a habit. Then what do we call it? When someone is always like that, what do we call it? We call it bad. If the actions that are produced by that anger are evil, what do we call that? We call it evil. Now, what do we call that person? Evil. Is there love there? Is that person acting out of love? No. And that's why they present you with the devil and the angel on the shoulder in the cartoons, right? The devil saying one thing, the angel saying the other thing. Angel say, no, you can do this, you got this. The devil goes, nah, remember the last time you did this? Okay? We're really talking about the left and right brain. Your right brain is your connection to God. It's the creative side. That's why Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father and not the left. Your left brain is not evil, but your left brain will rationalize you out of your dreams. So intuitive thought, intuition from the superconscious comes to your right hemisphere of your brain. Okay, this also represents the human brain because each side has its form. One is the left, one is the right. This is the coupling of the two. When you are speaking and you bring your hands together, the reason you pray like this, or the reason you pray like this, is because you're joining the left side, okay, this side, left, okay, this side, right, and you're joining them together in prayer. Now you're using both hemispheres to pray. When you do this, same. When you do this, same. When you do this, same. You'll see people meditating like this, but they have it down here. But they'll be like this. Sometimes they'll meditate and they'll use different positions. Okay, we're gonna go into that another time, another day, okay? But these are all variations, okay? These are called mudras. These are mudras. They're all for a different purpose, okay? All these different positions, okay? And you can do them by just doing this first and just close your eyes and ask, where should my fingers go? Where should my fingers go? Okay, that's a mudra. That's a mudra. These are energy centers. There are 7 energy centers in your body. The mudras, your hand and feet control your body. Did you know that? Did you know when you massage over here that your lungs? Okay, my grandmother did that. My grandmother did that all the time because I had asthma. She used to always grab my hand and do this. She used to massage my lungs all the time. Okay, go look it up. It's a thing. And your feet. The hands and feet control the body. Talk to a shiatsu person, they know all about it. Okay, these are all things that came from the East. They did not originate in the West. But these Eastern practices have been known throughout centuries. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to know these things, okay? If you go on Pinterest, if you go on my Pinterest, look me up, Junior Keikoewa Jr. on Pinterest, and you'll find tons of information like this for your health. So, now, back to your subconscious. Can your subconscious make you well? Yeah. Because you can install a wellness program. What? A wellness program? Yeah. Okay, here you go. Okay, wellness. I am so happy and grateful now that I am in perfect health. Thank you. There you go. That's your affirmation. Okay, affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization. There is only the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Okay, when you write by hand, it goes into your subconscious. When you install programs into your subconscious, okay, programs are beliefs. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. when you begin doing these and forming new beliefs, it takes a while, it takes a little while, doesn't take very long, 66 days. Can you write an affirmation for 66 days? Most people get too distracted by the physical matrix that we live in. Don't get too occupied with the physical matrix. You belong in here. You belong to this. You are a vessel. And this vessel is yours. Okay, the body is the temple. The kingdom is within. You are out here participating in this. You don't belong to this. You are in the world. You are not of the physical matrix. Your body is independent of the physical matrix, but you have to navigate the physical matrix. What do you and I have in common? Right in here. That's what we have in common. Do we have our bodies in common? No. Not at all. 7.2 billion people on the planet, something like that. I may be missing a few million. Okay. But over 7 billion people on the planet, and there's no two identical people. Not one identical pair. Not even identical twins. They're not the same. Everyone is original. Everyone is independent of the other. There's people that look the same. There's a lot of doppelgangers. Yeah, people look the same. But they're not the same. Biologically, they're not the same. So, who are you really? You're that energy in here. If you want to call it a spirit, you want to call it energy, that's who you are. Okay? What are you doing out here in this physical world? You're participating. You're participating. Good day. Good day. Okay. Okay. Now, let me see. So I'm going to, okay, let me go. I have to adjust my screen to look at this. Muslims and Christians share the same God, says Wizar. Talk about Ishmael and Isaac. So, Ishmael and Isaac, Christians, same God. There is only one God. If you want to call it God, if you want to call it source, if you want to call it whatever you want to call it, there is one creator. God is love. The Bible is an allegory that teaches in metaphor, Wizar. Whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, either way, you're a believer. This is not about religion. This is about your conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Okay? It's not about Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, Abraham. There was no Abraham. There was no King Solomon. There is no holy land. There are religious lands. There are religious places. There are religious capitals. There are no holy lands. If you have to say that, if you have to believe, if that's your perception, if that's your belief, and remember, a belief is a thought you keep thinking, so you must have been taught that thought from very young. If it's a program, if it's a belief, okay? First of all, God is bigger than you can describe. God defies description. And until you understand the metaphors, until you understand that the Bible is talking about the interior of this one. Yes, we have different countries. Yes, we have different customs. Yes, we have different religions. Yes, we have different avenues that all lead to the same thing. What is there then? Energy. Smithy. Energy. Energy. God is an energy. God is not a physical being. God is not, I cannot tell you what God is because it defies description, but I can tell you what God is not. God is not the the Sistine Chapel white man with a beard on the ceiling. He's not that. That's not God. God is bigger than that. There have been many teachers, many avenues to the same place. One creator. Just one. God is in here. That's right, Smithy. There you go. God is in here. So what I'm really talking about is the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. What I'm really talking about is your ability to create a better life for yourself in here, from here, with this. It's not about God or no God or whatever. It's not about your individual concepts, your individual beliefs, or your individual locations. It's not about that at all. What do you call this energy in you? What do you call that? A spirit? Okay. But that's what it is. Energy, spirit. These get old. These get old, right? This gets old. Okay, pretty soon I'll lose this. It will go. Okay, it becomes topsoil. But what about this? What about the energy? We have machines that witness the exit of that energy. We have machines now. They can see the energy leave the body. What we used to call ghosts, right? They can see that just go, and the body stays there and the energy goes. And we know that energy cannot be extinguished. You are the creator of your own destiny, yes. Frequency, yes. Well, everything has frequency. Everything is energy. Frequency and energy. Energy, frequency, vibration. That's exactly right, Smithy. You can choose your path, but you also have genetic influences. You also have things passed down so that you are part your mother and part your father and part your grandmother and part your grandfather on both sides. It goes up like that. Everything comes down the gene pool. The more you learn when you have a baby, it gets downloaded. It gets downloaded into your children. And that's why you have traits. I didn't see my son till he was 16, from the time he was 5. And when he was 16, I was like, oh my goodness, he has all my bad habits. How did that happen? I didn't raise him. He wasn't around me. He didn't see me do anything. How come he's like me? How come he has my bad habits? How come he has my good habits? How come he's like a Xerox copy of me? How did that happen? Genetics. There's also epigenetics. Your ability to rewire your brain through different processes that you learn that will rewire everything for you. That you can become different. But the fastest way to become different is to start with your pen. And that's why they say that the pen is more powerful than the sword all day long. But people don't do that because they're distracted by this physical matrix. Okay, but if you do it, okay, I'm going to show you that I do it. Okay, this is the new one I'm working on. Okay, so you see that one. But this one here, this is the old one. Okay. Now, if you're doing this, okay, this is not journaling. Okay, I want to say it again. It's not journaling. These are affirmations. Affirmations are giving your subconscious orders. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm confident. I am so happy and grateful now that I have $100 extra this month. What does the subconscious do? It does a couple of things. It leads you in baby steps to your goal by communicating with the superconscious, or what we call God or source, or what we call consciousness. And that gives us intuitive thought as to what to do, ideas. What do you think ideas are? You get an idea. Oh, maybe I should mow lawns. Maybe I should charge $50 a lawn. You know, I need $300 extra this month. Maybe I should offer everybody in the neighborhood and see how many I get. And maybe you do that, and maybe that was your idea. And then now you've mowed more than $300 worth of lawns. And what do we call that? We call that a blessing. Why? Because it was intuitive. It came from God. It came from source. It came from infinite intelligence. It came from Jesus Christ. It came from Allah. Depends on who you pray to. Is the energy any different in a Buddhist than it is in a Christian? I'm not telling you God doesn't exist. God is very real. It's just not like they tell you in business. You know, my stepfather was a Buddhist. He was one of the most remarkable guys I ever saw. Like, I never saw him do anything bad to anybody, right? But he was a Buddhist. According to the Christians, he's burning in hell right now. How does that work? That's not what it's telling you. Heaven is here. Hell is here. What are you going to create? Bruce Lipton? Oh, yeah, Bruce Lipton, of course. Yep. Here, this is another one, Smithy. If you really want to look at something, do this. Dr. Joseph Murphy was one of two original researchers into the subconscious activity of the human brain. Bruce Lipton is also very good. He's got a lot of stuff. And you might want to look at my book. This is more about vibration. This is about the human voice, the law of attraction and singing. This is more about the human voice and the effect on the human brain. Okay, and this involves the oxytocin. It involves endorphins, the activation of your neurotransmitters. This produces a calm when done the right way with velocity or with strength. And it starts to calm people, and it starts to let the real person emerge. It takes away fear. And when you take away fear and when you relax a human being, their natural life path emerges because now there's no interference. So DNA, yep, DNA downloads, genetics, there you go, same thing. Yeah, yeah, take a look, Smithy. Is there any questions, Smithy, that you, any issues in your personal life or anything that you want answers for, or you want to know how to go about doing something to make something better? I'm a life coach, that's what I do for a living. I'll help you. Just ask me any questions. Afrocentric, there you are again. Good morning. Hey, Maria, good morning. Thank you, Jay, for moderating. I see your comments, don't worry. Thank you. So here's what I'm going to tell you, right? We're all human beings. We belong to the same family. We're all Homo sapiens. We're all of the same species, right? So that being said, when you look at the law of one, it pertains to the energy in us. Where do we get that energy from? Sure, yeah. Sure, yeah, think about it, contemplate. Very good. So first you think a thought. If you think that thought often enough, it becomes a belief in your subconscious. Okay, from your conscious mind, right? We think a million thoughts a day, but the most predominant thoughts go into your subconscious. Let's look at the tree. Okay, I always talk about the tree because it's easy to understand. The roots of the tree are your subconscious beliefs. Okay, thoughts that you have thought that go into belief form, your subconscious. The trunk of the tree, okay, the trunk of the tree is your paradigm. That's your understanding of the world, the way you see the world, the way you look at things, the way your perception is formed. And then the fruits of the tree up here, the fruits of the tree, your actions, okay, based upon your paradigm, based upon what you believe to be true. And then your results come after the actions. It's a very simple way of understanding this. But now that you understand this, What do you need to do to manifest something? So manifest has taken on some kind of mystical, mystical thing, right? Like, oh, I'm going to manifest this. Okay, well, you could say I'm going to set a goal, right? You could say I'm going to make this a goal, but that sounds like work. Manifest sounds like I'm going to wave a magic wand and poof, there it is, right in the driveway. Brand new Corvette, right? Or Mercedes or BMW or whatever. But as a human being, you do have magical powers, so to speak. Because if you do this often enough, your reticular activating system filters out all the things that are not important to you, the things that are not of concern to you. Okay? And by doing this, by doing these affirmations and things like this, right? Here's what I can tell you, what I've achieved. Okay, not the material things, but I've achieved a certain strength in my reticular activating system that if something no longer serves me, I can let it go and I won't think about it again. There's people, Red Skelton, who was a very famous comedian. I'll share this with you. He was a very famous American comedian. Red Skelton said, when somebody does me wrong, I go out in my patio and I have a toast. I toast to him. And I take a drink, right? Take a shot, whatever. He goes, the second time someone does something wrong to me, I go out and I toast to them again. He said, the third time someone does something wrong to me, I go out to my patio and I toast them goodbye. Some people engage too long. Some people hang on too long to things that don't serve you, to things that hurt you. When you hang on too long to something that doesn't serve you, it begins to hurt you. Why? Because you're not resolving anything. If something continues to hurt you, let it go. I had to go through an entire industry, an entire career of jealousy, of people taking pot shots at me, well, whatever you want to call that, okay? But it wasn't because of any other reason that I was doing well. So when you do well, those things happen. But you have to be grateful for your haters. Your haters actually become your PR firm for free. They talk about you. They tell people stories about you. They gossip about you. And I'm guilty for feeding the fire. Because when I found out that these guys gossip like old ladies, I started putting out all kinds of information and stuff like that. And when I came back around, it came back to me. I knew exactly what happened. I knew exactly. So I used to feed them information, fictional information, all the time. And it always came back. And so, it was a network. It was a network. It would go all the way around, come all the way back. But you have to be grateful for that. You have to be grateful for haters. Always be grateful for your haters. Manifesting is creating your reality. Yeah, so you could say manifesting, Smithy, or you can say goal setting. Goals create your reality. So when you're manifesting something, when you're working on manifesting something, it involves affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. Okay, the fastest way. Now, if you're just sitting there wishing, okay, I wish I had a Rolls Royce. I wish I had a Mercedes. I wish I had a whatever. Okay, a lot of people do that. They just talk, but that's all they do. There's no focus. You have to apply focus for manifestation. So your reality will be created whether you're aware of it or not. You're creating your reality right now. You're manifesting right now. Everything you think, every action you do, every action leads to a circumstance. Okay? Every action leads to a result. But to have control over these actions to produce specific results based upon what you desire, what you want, where you want to go in life, what you want to do. How do I help my child Well, you need to learn these things. I want to help my grandchildren. Well, you need to learn these things. Because if you don't, right, if you think it often enough, it will happen because it becomes a belief. But just wishing for something doesn't do any good. Just praying for something doesn't do, it's not as effective. You can pray. I've tested prayer. I've tested prayer a lot. I've tested prayer. Started testing prayer in the 90s. And I was praying for off the wall things, like off the wall things. One time I prayed for, to meet this girl, right? And I gave a description to God. And I thought, well, I want to see if prayer is real, because if prayer is real according to my church, then this won't happen, because God wouldn't give me this. God wouldn't bring a girl to me, to my house, right? Or whatever, into my life. So I prayed, right? I said, dear Father God, right? And I prayed for this girl. And guess what happened? 2 weeks later, on Thanksgiving Day, when my school was closed, I get a phone call. It was a girl. She wanted to come to the school, and I was like, well, it's Thanksgiving, and I was teaching out of a studio at my home at the time. This was before my commercial school that I had for 24 years. But I was at home in these days. This was way long time ago, when I was testing prayer. And she came to the door, and I go, oh my gosh, this is what I prayed for, except, right? There were, so you need to be specific when you're manifesting. When you're praying, you need to be specific. You can't just, wish I had a girlfriend, wish I had somebody to, take to dinner or do whatever, or whatever. But she showed up. The only thing I didn't count on, so she resembled what I prayed for. She did, okay? But she was like taller than me. she was stronger than me. It was funny. But it happened, is what I'm saying. So I've tested prayer. I prayed for off-the-wall stuff, things that God wouldn't give me if I prayed, if I followed the church's, parameters of prayer. I'm here to tell you, you can pray for anything, okay? But then again, be careful what you wish for. Because if you're not specific in your prayer, if you're not specific in your meditations, affirmation, vocalization, visualization, if you're not specific, in other words, let's say it another way, if you don't know specifically what you want, you're going to get what you ask for, and it will be a generalization. You have to be very careful what you pray for, Elvira. Yep. I mean, it wasn't bad. What I got was good. What I got lasted, it turned into a lifetime friend kind of thing. Not a girlfriend, not a relationship kind of thing. But yeah, prayer is powerful. Okay, so is wishing. Because it's your subconscious. And the subconscious communicates with the superconscious or consciousness or God. You can believe in any God you want. You can believe in this pen. You can believe in this mouse right here. Holy mouse, bring me whatever. Okay? And this mouse will bring you something. There is only the conscious, superconscious, and subconscious. That's it. And the superconscious is the network we all belong to, and the law of one says that we are all connected. The Holy Bible says we are all one. The Bhagavad Gita says we are all one. The Quran says we are all one. Yet they point you in different directions, and a lot of them point you up. I'm not here to hate on churches. I'm just saying we are all one. We have this power as human beings. That's what I'm saying. So you manifest whether you're aware of it or not. You manifest whether you think so or not. A lot of people go, oh, this is evil. Manifesting is evil. Writing down what you want is evil. No, you can't do that. You have to pray. Well, yeah, praying is one. Meditating is one. If you're just praying, you're speaking to God. You're asking. When you're meditating, you're listening. You have to do both. You can't just pray. You need to listen. Because if you're not listening, you're not getting divine instruction. You're not getting intuitive thought. You're not receiving the answers. You're just articulating the asking. Okay, so the process, Mark 11:24, ask, believe, receive. But you have to listen, because sometimes there's action required, and when there's action required, you need to know what action to take, because everything is choices. When you make a choice, right, it leads to a result. Oh, I'm going to choose to go on this street. Oh, clear way. Green lights all the way home. I'm going to choose to go on this street. Oh, red light, red light, red light, red light, red light. You see? So the idea of, effective manifestation, the idea of effective prayer, or let's say goal setting and achieving goals, or bringing the proper things into your life. It's not just about praying and be specific about prayer. It's about asking and listening, communicating with the divine in you, because the divine is in here, the kingdom is in here. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is in here. He wasn't the only one who said that. He was the last one who said that. The kingdom is in here. The last 2,000 years. Okay, he was the one that said the kingdom is in here. Why? Because he was talking about the system. He was talking about what was out here in the physical world. And he was saying, no, you guys are missing the point. You guys are distracted into the physical. You guys don't know how to use this. Okay, and here, this right here, this is the Christian manual for this. This is the Christian manual. Okay, there's a Muslim manual. There's the Hindu manual. Okay, but they're all saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing. So the idea of who's a prophet, who's not a prophet, who's the son of God, who's not the son of God, who's whatever, that's up to individual entities. But what I'm saying is there's no difference from you or with you between you and a Muslim, or you and a, Jewish person, or you and a Buddhist, or you and a Taoist. We're human beings. We're all Homo sapiens. We have the same power. We have the same strengths. We have the same abilities. You have the ability to create your world. The only difference is you have to have control over your creation. If you don't have control over your creation, in other words, if you don't have control down here, the root, the tree, okay? So subconscious is the roots. If you don't change your subconscious, you won't change your paradigm, the trunk of the tree. Now up here is the fruits, okay? In holy books it says you will know them by their fruits, right? By their actions, by the way they behave, okay? But why are they behaving like this? Because of what they believe over here. Why is their paradigm like this, that they see the world? Because of the roots down here. And because these are their foundational core beliefs. Okay, the things that they believe to be true. Whether you believe or you don't believe, either way, you're a believer. Okay, what you believe to be true. Okay, now, the fruits of the tree, your actions, translate into results. That's how you manifest. So if you want to change your manifestation, you want to make more money, you want to have a better relationship, you want to get a better job, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. You start down here at the roots. Because when you change the roots, you change the entire process. The entire tree is different. It's a totally different tree. It's an unrecognizable tree. And now everything you want starts appearing. Because your subconscious is fueling this. Your subconscious is going, Okay, well, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that, maybe you should do that. It's communicating with the superconscious, and the superconscious goes, okay, I'll bring so and so into the picture. I'll bring this guy into the picture. I'll bring that guy into the picture. But we see it as coincidence. Oh, well, I just happened to meet this guy. Now I wanted to get a job at the factory. I just happened to meet this guy. Now I know somebody works at the factory. He's gonna get me in, and then now I got the job. How does that happen? You see? You see? Okay, so if you want to say the universe brought the right people into play, okay. If you want to say Jesus Christ brought the right people into play, okay. If you want to say Allah brought the right people and the doors open for you, and now you're successful, now you have that job, now you have that girl, now you have that car, now you have that home, okay. But that's what it does. That's what it is. That's how faith works. Faith is believing in the unseen. In order to have faith, you need to believe. So, write down what you want to be faithful about. I am so happy and grateful now that I believe in Jesus Christ. Now that I believe in Allah. Now I believe in the principles of Islam. Now that I believe in the principles of Buddhism. Now that I believe in the principles of Taoism. And it will come as a belief. It will become a belief in your subconscious and then form your paradigm. Then you'll see the world differently. Then you'll act differently and you'll get different results. But you can act differently. Okay, you can pretend anything. You can pretend anything, but when you pretend anything, you'll get random results. And then what will happen? If you don't change the roots, it'll go right back down the tree to the old paradigm. And these actions up here have meant nothing because they're not going to be permanent results. Why? Because you didn't change the core beliefs. You didn't change the tree, you only changed the fruits. You only did the fruit part. The action part. Anybody can fake an action. You ever been around somebody that acts friendly to you? They act friendly to you. Oh, hi, As soon as you turn their back, as soon as you glance back at them, they're like this. You see? Anybody can put on an action. But not everybody is like that, is what I'm saying. If you really want to be happy, you really want to be a happy person that spreads happiness and joy and love and all those things, then you have to start at the roots. And you have to start to install those programs. Okay, so like I said at the beginning of the live, right? Your conscious mind, okay? The frontal lobe of your brain that processes all these thoughts all day long, think, 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 all those thoughts. That's your operating system. Your hard drive, where the programs are installed, is your subconscious. Okay, now the superconscious, right? And I just do this because it's a direction to go. They're all located in here. The kingdom is in here. Everything is in here. You're complete in here. But the subconscious communicates with the superconscious. And that superconscious is the network that we're all plugged into. But we're all plugged in as individuals with one thing in common: energy. And this energy affects everything else. You may not think so. Quantum physics is telling us another thing. Quantum physics is telling us, yeah, everything is affected by energy. Okay? But you have to zoom out and look in from a higher perspective. It's a higher perspective. When you see things affecting everything else. When you make somebody happy, they turn around and they react happily to somebody else. They feed that happiness to somebody else. That person reacts to the next person. They're going to be in a good mood. They push that happiness farther. And that's what it's like. It's like a chain reaction. Anger works the same way. You get angry with somebody, they get in a bad mood, they get angry, it triggers them. The next person that they get involved with or react to, they're not going to be friendly and loving, right? There you go. See you tomorrow, Jay. Yep, Jay is telling me it's time to wrap it up. Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, so we've come to the end of our international feed. Okay, so we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on 2 Facebook pages every morning, and Trovo in Europe. And we'd like to say thank you and mahalo for being here. Mahalo from Hawaii.